Welcome back to our third episode of Real Estate Investing Series. Today, and every day, we're talking about anything and everything real estate. Today, we're going to talk about some of the things that go along with wealth building, some maintenance issues and rehabs and stuff like that. So why don't we get it kicked off? And Brian, talk to us about the importance of having good quality contractors and handymen and things like that when you're working with your portfolio.
Yeah, I mean, it's real important to have that. That's part of your team. You got to have that as part of your team. And there are times, much like today and now, where these guys are hard to find. They're really, really hard to find. And unless you have an established relationship with a lot of these guys and girls, then you're not going to be able to get them out for 6-8 months. So again, what we have at Realty Consultants is we have these established relationships. We have these we've got this built-in vendor list that we use that they're always on call for us. We do so much volume for them that they look at us as, hey, this is a major source of income for us. So we have them there. So if you're out and doing this on your own, it's very, very, very important to put that vendor team together. But no, when you're working with an established property management company like Realty Consultants, then we already have that in place for you.
Yeah, and kind of key off that, the buying power when you're managing the number of properties and you have the ability to provide a significant amount of that person's and that contractor's revenue, they not only take care of you so far as pricing is concerned, they take care of you so far as priority is concerned. And let's just be honest, one of the biggest things of keeping a good, vibrant real estate portfolio is keeping your tenants happy and being able to attune and take care of those maintenance issues in a timely fashion and in a professional way and get done properly. So all of those things are important. It's your property. So you don't want to go in there and just slap a Band-Aid on something when something breaks. Yes, it might be just a hair less expensive, but in the long run, if you fix it and fix it right, your property is being taken care of, and more importantly, your tenant is happy that you've done a good job.
Yeah, and one other thing as well, we talked about vacancy expense before. If you're having turnover and you can't get your vendor in there to do the turn quick enough, then that vacancy expense increases. So for us, if you can't get that thing turned in 2 months, that's 2 months worth of vacancy expense that you're having to take on. That's one of the things we focus on is quick turns as quick as possible.
So yeah, I mean, just in dollars and cents alone, you have someone who is giving you good rates on the work that they're doing. They're getting it done faster. So a lot of times, if you don't have that, you're doubling up on your expense in the what you're paying for it, but more importantly, what you're losing with vacancy when it doesn't rent.
Yeah, and people don't understand that because they don't put in their mind what they're losing. They just assume it's just not being rented, but the vacancy expense is a true expense.
Absolutely. So we're talking about our vendor list and making sure that we have the right people there to help us do our rehabs and take care of our properties with tenants in place. Let's kind of talk to us about the rehabs and how important it is to, when you're doing a rehab, whether it's you've bought a new property or a tenant's left the property, and you're really trying to evaluate what you're going to do, how your dollars are going to be spent when you're fixing this property up, and what decisions need to be made and what assistance you need to be able to make those decisions as you go through.
Yeah, when you're doing a rehab, you can do a couple different things. I mean, there's all different types of countertops. There's all different types of appliances. There's all different kinds of things that go into a rehab. Some more expensive than others. We haven't talked much about the flipping side of the business, but if you were going to rehab a property and put it back on the market to sell, you want it as top notch as you possibly can get it. And I don't mean to say that you don't want it top notch when you're doing a rental property, because you do. You want it in good condition when you're putting the tenant in place from that standpoint. But you don't want to overdo your expenses on your rehab when you're doing this. So always keep that in mind. You know, there's going to be things that you may want to spend more money on, a kitchen, a bathroom, but then there's going to be other things that, you know, maybe we can get away with a grade 2 style carpet or something to that effect. Again, this is where your property management company is going to come into effect. They're the ones that are going to tell you, okay, where am I going to get the biggest bang for my buck?
Right. And, you know, as you're going through this, it's good to include them in this process of decision making, because, I mean, it's going to probably boil down to price point of the rental that you have. You know, it may be better for you to go in with the high-end granite if you've got a high-end $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month rental. But, you know, maybe Formica is a good choice for that $800 or $900 a month property. You know, because at the end of the day, it's, you know, it's about putting in the right stuff for the property itself. And overspending on this and not being able to get a return on your investment is important. And, you know, so helping going through those decision-making processes, it's good to have that secondary person, that expert that knows the market and knows what the tenants are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, you don't want to overspend in the beginning. The beginning is where it's going to be the start of the whole thing, if this is going to be a good investment or not. And you don't want to overspend. And that's one of the key areas. You want to make sure you're spending the right amount. You have the right budget for that rehab project.
Yeah, and you know, not to belabor the point, but it's not just about overspending. It can be underspending. If you've got a property that you're looking to get $3,000 a month rent for in our area, and your thought is, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to put in, you know, X, Y, and Z into the property. It's good for that, have that sounding board for someone to say, no, the people that's going to spend $3,000, $4,000 a month are going to be expecting these amenities. And if you don't have them, you're not. Your vacancy rate is going to increase because you've diluted your pool of people that are going to want to rent that property for that amount. We've talked a lot about the great things and then the challenges, a lot about the challenges that come with real estate investing, you know, and partnering with the right people and having your great team around you. But in the end, an investment is an investment. You're looking for a return. And one of the greatest things about real estate investing versus, you know, investing in equities and stocks and things of that nature is the really ability for the average person to really build true wealth. Talk to us about that and how that is a process. It's not instantaneous, but it's one of the easiest ways to build wealth in investing.
Yeah, so one of the first things that I was taught and that I learned was investing in real estate is the get rich slow scheme. So if you're planning on getting rich quick, this is not the game for you. But that being said, you are going to be able to build wealth over time. That's kind of the goal here. As you continue to invest in properties, it's almost like, I like to explain to people, it's almost like having a savings account. Whether you use cash or whether you use debt to get into your properties, basically the expense is funded by the rent income that's coming in. So basically you're building this asset base of wealth in these properties, and you have to assume. Now, we've had times when there has been depreciation in housing. You know, we went through that back in the late 2000s. But you have to assume there's going to be appreciation built in to this piece of the asset puzzle. So even if you're looking at, let's just throw out 3%. You know, if you put in $100,000 into a piece of property, you know, and it grows at 3% a year, I mean, you just think about the compounding interest on that piece of it. So you're building wealth and you're paying off debt along the way. You're basically paying off the debt that you've used to get into this wealth, and you're just growing an asset base that can be used for multiple different things. You've got, it's there for retirement. You can use it as cash flow. If you're ready to retire and you can live off the cash flow that it's bringing you, it's always there. I mean, there's just so many great things.
Absolutely. And, as you're building, the ability to build that wealth, and investments, when you say the word investment, you have an inherent risk component to it. And real estate's no different. There's a risk component to it. You have risks along the way, and we've talked about some of those risks. But I think I've heard, I'm not sure who said it, that real estate is probably one of the only investments, if you give it enough time, you will not lose money. And there's very few places where you can put money that you can say that. If you're looking at it, like you said, for a short-term gain, the risks are much different than if you're looking at a long-term. If you're looking to buy a piece of real estate and have it and hold it and rent it and have it for a long period of time, the chances of that being worth less than when you bought it are almost zero. It's just not, and it's one of those things when you have this asset. You have something that's hard. It's something you can hold, touch, and feel. When you are looking at inflationary times, it is a great place to have your money because it's going up with the inflation as much as it is just because it's a natural investment and the cash flow coming in.
Yeah, I mean, real estate is a natural inflation hedge. You see a lot of investors get into real estate when you're having times kind of like we have right now, when you just have inflation going bonkers, because it is that hedge. And it's also something that's going to be there forever. We're not financial advisors. So the risk aspect, I mean, you take on that risk when you get into it, but you hit the nail on the head. The factor that comes into play when you make either a good investment or a bad investment, depending on what you're trying to do, is the time piece. That was something that I learned on the early aspects of me getting into this, which is, I may buy something and find out it's not a good investment. As long as it's long term and as long as I can hold it for the duration of the income to come in on that property and allow it to appreciate at the level of appreciation that we typically see, then it does offset a lot of the bad decision making I made on the front end.